Hi there. Welcome back to Fuel for Thought, our weekly look at all things energy related and beyond. Scott Squires, pleased to be joined by the insider, Dan McTagg. And Dan, a short window for us this week, a few things to talk about. So let's jump right in. We know that the consumer carbon tax dropped on April 1st. It wasn't an April Fool's joke. It did come off. Prices dropped about 18 to 20 cents a liter wherever you are. Right now, in Nova Scotia, where I am, it's about 143, 144 a liter, but all kinds of volatility on the world market with oil, Dan. So there's lots out there. There's lots to try to wade through, but as quickly as you can, kind of cut through all the noise. Where are we with prices when people are going to fill up their vehicles, and what's happening with oil on the world market?
Well, look, we've seen oil prices drop about 10, 12, $14 a barrel on the tariff concerns, the Trump tariff concerns, which seem to be going back and forth. I've mentioned to you before, in my old days working at Gas Buddy, I did a lot of American interviews. And for the first couple of years of Trump's administration, the energy market actually paid attention. Every time he tweets something, the price would go up or down based on what he said. I think we're getting to that point now where we've had enough of this guy, and we should just basically ignore him. That aside, he was responsible, or his willingness to crash the U.S. economy in order to get interest rates down seems to be having the desired effect. We saw mostly a negative last week, yesterday a rally, and this morning we're back to negative. What it really means is that for the foreseeable future, the Trump administration wants to cause not just a trade war between the two largest players, China and the United States. It actually wants to create a recession in the hope that somehow, because they don't have to worry much about relying on exports for their economy, only 10, 12% of their economy, that somehow the world will come on bended knee. And in that kind of game, we're having this sort of back and forth. By the way, most nations got a tariff exemption for the next 90 days, this game again, except two countries, China, which of course there's going to be an escalation, and Canada. Yeah, we heard Mark Carney make a big deal about how great it is, and the word relationship is great, and the media seems to be behind it. But make no mistake, we have tariffs. And anybody who thinks that Mark Carney is going to somehow be able to get us out of this, so far, by all evidence, we're not getting out of it. We're going to get really dragged into this. Nevertheless, oil prices have dropped. Yes, gas taxes have dropped on carbon, but that is only temporary. As we know full well, if you vote for the Liberals or the NDP or anyone like that, you're going to get an industrial carbon tax. It's coming right back. And you know what? It's going to be fun here in 3 or 4 months when I come to people and say, what's the matter with you? Were you not thinking about what you were doing? We told you, we warned you, this is a gimmick. This is a trick. This is snake oil salesmanship. Mr. Carney has every intention of building all sorts of modular homes, 15-minute cities, emissions caps, and of course, he's going to restore this carbon tax, whether you like it or not. And this time, you won't get your trendy little rebate. So at the end of the day, this is going to be very, very, very tough for the Canadian economy and for Canadians. It's a hard lesson that after 10 years, you still don't get it.
I saw a poll recently, Dan, that kind of really made my eyes open wide and my jaw drop a little. And the framing of the question was basically, what are the hot button issues that you are most concerned with going into this Canadian federal election? Now, you and I have talked about for a long time about a lot of the things that have been plaguing Canada, whether it's affordability, whether it's the cost of rent or the cost of housing, whether it's the uncontrolled immigration and all of the things that have been widely reported on that's been happening there. A laundry list of things that Canada has been dealing with for a long time that's affected just really the overall standard of living. But you know what was number one? Over 31% of respondents listed as their number one issue going into the election, our relationship with the United States and tariffs. And I kind of couldn't believe it. And all the other issues that have been going on for years were way down the list. Dan, what's going on?
Our collective sense of understanding and being able to discern what is important, what isn't, has completely been shut down by a narrative that tells us good things and bad things, and we by that we abide. The reality is that we've had a devastating impact to the affordability matter in this country. It is a crisis. It is the crisis. It is the most important issue. Whether you're trendy or not, and you want to go, and elbows up while your intellectual capacity seems to be significantly down. I'm saying those comments here because I cannot believe how how we have regressed in terms of our ability to see the bigger picture. And it disturbs me to no extent that as a liberal of 18 years, Canadians were a lot more advanced than that. Actually, it's not really all Canadians. I think young people get it. It's the boomers, the over 60 crowd, the gray hair crowd, who seem to believe that the government has this infinite ability to spend money and go on certain tirades. There's only two countries in the world, as I said, that are going to be subject to major tariffs in which there's going to be a significant war: Canada and China. In China's case, they're beating the crap out of us in terms of our canola farmers out west, our seafood producers right here in Maritimes, Atlantic Canada. They're all being hit badly. So if Canadians want to have this fixation with, Mark Carney, I've never lived in the country, I don't pay taxes here, Prime Minister, that's one thing. But it's another thing to be obsessed and to follow this idea that somehow it leads you astray from what has been absolutely hurting you, your family, your loved ones, your friends. When you sit down for Easter, assuming you have some food for Easter, why don't you talk about it? Why don't you talk about real bread and butter issues as opposed to being concerned about orange-haired man bad south of the border? Look, they're going to do as much damage to their economy as they can, but Trump's purpose on this, and as I've said earlier, and I've said for many months, I've tweeted this before, he wants to crash the economy so that he can get the U.S. Fed, the U.S. Bank, to drop interest rates so that the next round of deficit spending, when he has to make up and pay for that $38 trillion in debt that the U.S. has accumulated, is a lot less to service, maybe half of the price. That's what he's aiming for, and he'll go to no extent to get it. As for the rest of it, yeah, maybe part of his campaign pledge, but the United States is not that dependent on exports as we are. A third of our country depends on exports, only 11% in the United States. I would say that this is kind of a thing where we shouldn't be so obsessed with Donald Trump. We should be obsessed with piss poor policy here in this country that has weakened our ability and has made Donald Trump a symptom of the bigger problem that Canadians have been consistently voting for in 2015, 2019, and 2021. You brought this upon yourselves. Don't make a mistake for the fourth time and vote for these folks that are basically, tricking you on every front, frankly, lying and plagiarizing their campaign platform.
We've talked about polling before, and almost on cue, as you predicted several months ago, the polls have kind of shifted, showing the Liberals either leading or kind of neck and neck with the Conservatives federally, and even in some provincial areas where Conservatives had a lead, but now the Liberals are back on top. I ask you about this because I'm a bit of a political junkie. I enjoy the process, and I've seen quite often where polls, whether it's in Canada, federally, provincially, even municipally, and in the United States, as another close example where the polls have been way off. What I'm seeing with these rallies and these massive numbers of individuals that are showing up for Pierre Poilievre, lining up for hours, 4, 5, 6, 8,000. Those visuals, the optics of everything that's happening on the ground seems to fly in the face of what the polls are saying. What do you make of it all, Dan?
Well, I don't believe the polls. And like everyone else, I know that the pollsters themselves have a lot to talk about, discuss about, and disclose about how much money they've made under the Liberal government the past 10 years. Look, every one of these large pollsters has made a significant amount of money through Liberal government grift. They've done surveys, conducted all sorts of formulas and packages, and that's been paid for by the federal Liberal government who took your tax dollars to make it happen. So they know full well that the Liberals lose, it's game over. There's no more of this money that's going to be taken out of my pocket, your pocket, or worse, that of our grandchildren with deficit spending in order to ingratiate a handful of people who basically want to, as it were, polish the apple of the Liberal government. They know on which side of the bread their bread is being buttered, and for that reason, they're going to do whatever they can to ensure that the Liberals remain in power. But the reality is that that is not what I'm seeing on the street. Many people are very concerned they can't make ends meet, and the same people aren't going to be so easily connived into believing that somehow the Liberals deserve a fourth term to give them 15 years in government, which would be silly and unprecedented, especially in such difficult times. All of the policies that I see the Liberals have under Mr. Carney is to try to walk away from the things they've done over the past 10 years, while at the same time pretty much deceive the public into believing that they're going to get something that they're, like carbon taxes being the best example, net zero, everything's in place. What concerns me more than anything else, not just about the polling, but about those who are influencing the outcome, have a significant financial interest and are significantly compromised when it comes to offering their views. I believe this is going to be a much tighter election. I believe at the end of the day, and hold me to it. I think the Conservatives will win, but they won't win as dramatically as they should have when people just a few months ago signaled they were sick and tired of this administration, this reckless government that has put them into a proverbial poorhouse and financial snowbank.
Just a couple of weeks away from that federal election. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds. And I know lots to talk about in the weeks leading up and lots to talk about in the days and weeks afterwards. Can't wait to get to it, Dan. But that is our time for now. But I do want to let folks know when you're not here hanging out with me on Fuel for Thought, where can folks connect with you?
AffordableEnergy.ca, get my gas price predictions, get my latest on the polling and other political issues, but not dealing directly with the country in terms of getting inside in the election. And of course, gaswizard.ca is where you get the other polling information. Sorry, the other information on gas predictions. Gas Price Wizard on Twitter or
Dan,
X.
always a pleasure to have you with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And let's reconvene and talk more next week.
You as well. Thanks, my friend, and looking forward to it. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Dan.